New Monsters and Batman 66 models announced. Deeproot announces game release timetable. Suncoast Pinball prepares for production.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Houston. I'm the editor of Pinball Magazine, and with me is...
I'm Martin Ayeb, an editor of Pinball News.
Right, and welcome to our monthly recap of the previous months in the where we're looking at the pinball industry news, in this case of May 2019.
Indeed, and it was a reasonably quiet month, I have to say, as far as interesting or exciting news goes, but there's still plenty happening.
Right. So now I have somewhere to be, and I think you have somewhere to be as well. So let's get right into the news of last month. And
let's cut to the chase.
Exactly. So Stern announced a new model for the Monsters and for Batman 66.
Yes. When they brought out the Monsters originally, the three models, the Pro, the Premium, and the LE, and the Premium model was the black and white playfield one.
And now, ta-da! They're also announced a Premium in color.
Yes, which is it's a swings and roundabout affair, because on the plus side, it means that if you wanted to get a color playfield along with the all the features that are on the playfield, you now have that option. But it does mean that for those people who bought the LE just so they could get exactly that, they didn't like the black and white version and they wanted the color. So they paid out the extra and got the limited edition model. It now turns out that maybe they didn't need to do that, and they could have waited a little while and got a color premium after all.
Right. So doesn't that make the black and white premium the actual limited edition?
Oh, it depends how many they made, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's probably stuff that Stern is never going to disclose. But if you own a black and white premium Monsters, then just think of it that's the actual limited edition. Although the colored version might see less units made, so that might be the collectible.
Well, I think the black and white one was some people liked it and some people didn't, and I think those who liked it really liked it, and those who didn't like it really didn't like it. So they either went for the premium, went for the limited edition, or went for the Pro model, because there's not a huge amount of difference between the two. In features on the playfield.
No, playfields are basically the features are the same. I think you're talking about maybe Infinity glass or whatever it's called, and a real back glass instead of a translite. That usually that kind of stuff. Maybe a shaky motor. I don't know. I don't have the specs in front of me, but that's usually I didn't see any extra reason why anyone would go for the limited edition on that one if you could go for a premium, other than if you really don't like the black and white. But even that option is now it's a color. So I would say on Monsters, premium all the way if you wanted.
Well, perhaps they sold all the limited edition ones and people still wanted a colour fully featured playfield and couldn't get one. So this was the only way of doing it.
If they did that, if that's the case, then good for Stern.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, maybe it's a good sign. Yeah. So that was the Monsters, the new colour premium model. Right. But there's also a new model of Batman 66.
Right, which is focused around Catwoman.
Yeah, the Catwoman Signature Edition, as I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And
I forgot the name of the actress that played Catwoman, but apparently she's still alive. So she was able to sign a couple of trading cards, I think they are called, or whatever.
Julie Newmar, I think was the name.
Yeah.
So each game comes with a signed Catwoman trading card.
Yeah, Adam West was no longer available, I hear.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Maybe there was something happened there that we weren't aware of, but
could be.
Yeah.
But thank God we have Julie Newman or whatever her name is.
Newmar, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of changes in the artwork, obviously centered around Catwoman, and for the rest it's still the same game. It's still
it's the premium model, I believe.
Yeah, which is actually the Pro model, the cheapest
model. Yeah, it's the base model.
Yeah, the base model of that game. So you're still buying a very expensive game. Code-wise, I understood that a lot of people like how the code improved over time.
Yes, good point.
And so if Batman 66 is a game that you're in the market for, now you have an extra option.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the pricing is, whether that's the same as the original premium model was, or whether it's higher or lower than that.
Right.
I didn't actually get any official announcement from Stern on this. It just kind of appeared. There's no press release, I don't think, sent out about it.
Actually, I think there was. I think I got one.
Did you? Oh, well, yeah. I didn't. Okay.
Let me...
Perhaps I've done something bad and got blacklisted by Stern now.
Again?
Without me knowing it. Yeah, that's right, yeah. So anyway, there's a flyer for the game. It obviously features Catwoman as the main back glass character. And on the back box sides as well, the cabinet is more traditional Batman and Robin. So that's the new game models that have been announced by Stern Pinball in the past month.
So now let me play a little devil's advocate over here. You could also wonder, so why would Stern announce these additional models? Is that because they are stuck with parts that they need to get rid of, so do a new model and get rid of the parts? Or is the game so popular that, we're playing on that, and as a result, here's a new model to cater to that market?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a fairly, I don't want to underestimate the amount of work that goes into doing this. It's a fairly simple process to create these new models as opposed to creating a new game. And if it stimulates sales a bit, and they recover the costs, and they're not producing or not announcing any new models at the moment over the summer period, and waiting until a little bit later, I think in the year, before they do that, then it keeps their distributors happy with new games they can promote, and keeps them in the public eye.
Right.
Keeps us talking about them as well.
Right, okay. I do have one other, aside from the usual code updates, I think, for Black Knight, and what else? Deadpool has a new code update. But Stern also sent, at least to me, a press release that they appointed Ryan Cravens as Director of North American Commercial Sales.
Oh, yes, I did get that as well, yeah.
So your blacklisting is very recent.
Yes, I guess so. Or maybe they're more selective in what they send me.
Yeah, so actually I'm looking in my mailbox right now, can't find any press release for the two games we just discussed. I do see a code update for Monsters as well, so that ties nicely in with the extra color model. They're now at 1.0, so okay, good for them. And that's basically all the Stern news that I have. Although
I would say it's probably worth just going back to what you said about Ryan Cravens being appointed as Director of North American Commercial Sales,
right?
Because that's obviously sales to distributors, not retail sales.
Right.
And also know about Doug Score, having been appointed to handle worldwide sales. So I'm wondering whether this is just another slight edging of Gary Stern away from the business into a more relaxed and leisurely lifestyle, without such a hands-on operation, or having his hands on the operation of sales to distributors, which is what he was going to concentrate on once Dog was brought in as well.
Right. Okay.
But now the whole North American, US and Canada, I don't know if it includes any. I don't think they do any sales to Mexico, which is also, strictly speaking, North America. But now they have somebody handle that as well. Where does that leave Gary Stern?
Probably on his boat.
Yeah, or skiing. Yeah, I'm sure he's not worried about it anyway, whatever it means.
So, and then slightly related to Stern Pinball, I think we can include that right away. Christopher Frenchy revealed cabinet artwork for 2 games recently. Beetlejuice, I think we discussed last month, and this month he released the cabinet artwork for a game called Superman 78, based on the very first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves as Superman, of course. And the story is that there was apparently an outside party interested in contracting Stern to build these games. And in the end, they didn't get... nobody was interested in designing those games. That's what it comes down to. And if as George Gomez says, if the design team can't put themselves behind a theme, then it's not going to result in a great game. So you better not do it.
Yeah, I think officially the game. Well, the game design was officially called Superman the movie. But yes, so that's, as you said, that's Chris Franchi's second complete. Well, not complete, but. Art package, should we say? I don't know how complete it was for a title which isn't going to be produced by Stern.
Right.
So you can see that he was rumoured to be somewhat frustrated that these titles weren't being picked up, and you can kind of see why if you put all this effort into it, and the games never actually go on into production.
It actually makes me wonder why. It's probably not a fair comparison, but. A couple of months ago, we reported that Stern Pinball got the Godzilla license that Spooky Pinball was after, and not the very commercial one, but one for a very obscure Godzilla movie from Japan. You wonder, obviously everybody has their suspicion of why Stern took that license off the market, so to speak, because nobody can see Stern doing that obscure Godzilla themed pinball, but then it makes you wonder if you don't do Superman. I'm not saying Superman is a good theme. I can see why design teams would not be interested in it, especially since the movie from '78 has special effects that are everybody's basically yawning at, like, nobody's believing that anymore. But it still makes me wonder, why would they go for Godzilla and actually develop a game for that? That's just on what I'm thinking, playing devil's advocate one more time, but if you know, so.
Yeah, well, I don't think we have an answer for that, so we won't speculate anymore. There are plenty of other people who are willing to speculate on what's happening in the pinball world. Let's stick to the facts.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, Christopher Frenchy has been busy, obviously. Who knows what else he's working on? Although last time I talked to him, he told me that he's still waiting from Stern to hear from Stern what his next project will be. So he's on a bit of a hiatus right now. And let's hope that they will need him soon enough.
Yes, absolutely. Produces some lovely work.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's. What should we go to next? Shall we go down under, or go over to China, in fact, and see what...
we're going to Deeproot.
Oh, okay. We're not going to go there yet. Okay. Well,
that was the second headline, so I figured we'd do 3 headlines, and then we get some other news as well. But...
Oh, okay. I like to mix it up a bit, throw in a few random stories here and there. But yeah, let's say Deeproot Pinball have been... Well, they haven't actually announced very much. They did put out an announcement saying, giving a rough timetable, and in some cases very rough timetable, as to when their first game, Retro Atomic Zombie Adventureland, or RAZA, as we can call it from now on, to avoid having to say that too many times, is going to be available to play, and when it's going to be produced. But also looking at, also bashing everybody else's product at the moment, saying how terrible pinball is right now.
Yeah, well, we always love manufacturers who do that.
Oh, yeah, endears them to our hearts, obviously.
It's a good way to start building a name for yourself.
Yeah, well, they haven't got anything to show at the moment to show how good their product is.
That usually doesn't help.
Yeah, well, yes, a little bit behind on that, but also extolling how wonderful and innovative and groundbreaking their games are going to be when they come out, and unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Oh, well, great. I can't wait to see it then.
Yeah, well, you'll have to wait to see it, unfortunately, because the first game, Raza, they do say that they will have it available, or a number of units available, an unspecified number of units available to play at this year's Houston Arcade Expo, which takes place, I think, in
November. 15th
yeah.
and 16th, I think.
Okay, so the end of this year. So they should have some models there for people to play.
Good.
The actual big launch that they were going to do in March this year at the Texas Pinball Festival.
But they already said in November, I think, of last year, we're not going to make that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that was postponed. That 5 days of Deeproot, they're actually still going ahead with that, and but they've given a fairly lax timetable as to exactly when it's going to happen. It could be any time between autumn/fall of 2019 this year, or summer of 2020.
Oh, that narrows it down.
It's basically a window of 1 year. So it could be any time in fall, autumn, winter, spring, or summer. So there you go.
Well, it's very
put it in your diary now.
It's a good thing to see that those designers aren't being stressed into delivering games in a rush. I think that might actually benefit the games, so that because the designers had all the time in the world to work on them.
Well, seemingly so. Yeah, I mean, they've obviously been working on them for a while, and they could have up to another year or more.
Man, you love to be a designer at Deeproot right now. I mean, you can totally chill, be innovative and all that kind of stuff. Actually, man, I envy Dennis Norkman.
Yeah, in fact, the only person who's got any pressure on them at all, it seems, is John Popaduke to get Raza out by November this year.
Well, only a few prototypes, so it's not like a real big pressure.
Well, yeah, but they're going to be groundbreaking and innovative and unlike anything we've ever seen before.
We've seen what that game looks like, so.
But that's what it looks like. Is obviously only skin deep, because there's clearly a lot more in the game that we don't know about that makes it innovative and groundbreaking.
Then get on it, John. Although I think John might be working with someone else inside the company to finish that game.
Okay, so
I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Osler is heavily involved in finishing that. But then again, Barry was often involved in finishing the designs of other designers, even when he was working at Williams. So
absolutely, yeah, it's one of the things one of the many things he excels at.
Yeah, so actually that could be a very good thing. And so. I think they obviously there's some disputes going on, or people who bought a Raza game in the past. I think they have now till June 28th to claim a game with Deeproot, and after that, then I guess they're on their own, or combined or whatever. But let's keep this rather positive. So if you're owed a Raza game, then and you haven't contacted Deeproot, then you might want to look into that. And let's leave it at that.
Yes, I'm not sure whether that window is still open. What they did say is that by June the 28th, they will give the claimants a choice between extending the delivery date of the machine they're owed until, I guess that window of the end of or fall of this year and summer of next year. So that fairly loose time frame for delivery of their game, or taking some kind of financial settlement instead, rather than going for a game. So that will be offered to those people by the 28th of June.
Okay, well, let's hope it will all work out.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so our third headline was about another new manufacturer.
Yeah, Suncoast Pinball, who have shown around their Cosmic Carnival game at various shows recently. Actually, since last year, October, I think, that was when the first Whitewood made an appearance at the earlier mentioned Houston Arcade Expo. And at the Texas Pinball Festival, they showed the playfield and artwork with new... they showed the playfield and cabinet with artwork by Dirty Donnie. Mm-hmm. And since then, they have actually been very active on Facebook and possibly also other social media, but I pay most attention to Facebook. Updating images or photos of gameplay, or at least flipping a ball around with some music in the background, and the sculptures on the game above the ramps are now both colored in, painted, so to speak. At the Texas Pinball Show, they were just 3D printed mock-ups with no paint, I think. And they changed, based on feedback that they got from people playing the game, they changed actually the layout of the design of the ramps. So the ramps are still in the same spot and they still feed the same inlanes, but the ramp design itself changed so that it's no longer blocking the artwork on the playfield that much, and people can better see where the ball is going. So that's I guess an improvement, which is interesting to note. And they're sort of getting ready to build their first couple of playfields. They had showed pictures of a couple of cabinets being decaled and so on. So they're getting ready for their first, I'd say, pre-production.
Yes, they say the first 10 cabinets are either finished or close to finished, and they showed some pictures of cabinets and back boxes, and they said that their first production playfield is making its way down the line, which is surprising because we haven't really had a chance to play any sort of sample games yet, but maybe they're going straight to production and start shipping the games. Maybe they're that confident that the game can just be built now. They've done all their testing and they can start making them and shipping them to the buyers, in which case, bravo, congratulations.
Yeah. There's not many pinball companies who are able to do that. So in the sense that usually the assembly line setup and all that kind of stuff, the inventory part, that's the big beast that startups usually have the most difficulty with getting that under control, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's I would say it's easy to design and prototype a game or build a one-off sample, but
I wouldn't say easy, but that's compared to the ask Andrew Highway, and he will tell you that's the easy part.
Yeah, getting all the manufacturers, all your ducks in a row, and actually getting everybody ready to start producing the games in any kind of quantity is a very different proposition to building the one sample game.
Right.
So anyway, that's Suncoast with their Cosmic Carnival game.
Yeah, and kudos for them. I hope they have a successful start, and I'm looking forward to see more games from them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing the revamped or the new layout for the game as well. Which,
I'm still waiting for code on it, because all I got to do is play it at the Texas Pinball Festival, where it was basically flip a ball around and nothing's going to happen.
Yes, that's right.
That was it. So I'm curious to see how it will actually play with all the code fully implemented and the modes working and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't know when we'll get to see that exactly, but a little bit later in the year, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, speaking of starting up production, here's a nice bridge to American Pinball.
Yeah, who are looking to bring more people on board for their production.
Yes, they are looking for full-time employees for their stockroom, shipping and receiving, the production line, and game testing. Especially game testing, I found a very interesting.
You fancy your chances of that, do you?
Well, not so much in the sense, obviously I'm based in Europe, and if they'd love to send over a game for me to test it, then by all means, please do so. And trust me, I'll test it thoroughly. But obviously, as editor of Pinball Magazine, and you know this as well, I've talked to quite a few pinball designers who probably quite a few. Jim Petler comes to mind, and a few others who started out at Belly actually in game testing. That's where they got in as kids still in school, and after school they went to the factory just to play pinball and record scores and how long they played the game. Actually, test playing all those games, only to become designers at a later stage. So when I saw that they are looking for game testers, I sort of made that connection, although I understand it's also just a game is coming down the line and you need to test whether it's completely working. That's also probably the same. So it might be two different adaptations of that name or interpretations of what game testing actually is. But then again, you never know which future designer might be responding to this vacancy.
Yes, it's also interesting that they're looking for these people because I don't know if that implies that they didn't have them before or didn't have enough of them. And if they didn't have enough of them before, they're obviously planning for higher production numbers and will need more staff. And now, obviously, in the past we've featured stories about American Pinball moved to their new factory, which is significantly larger than the one that they're currently in, and how that's going to happen, expected to happen over the summer. And that will provide them with up to 3 production lines, which the main one would be used obviously as their main pinball game. The second one and third one could be used for production of contract games or other types of games. It could be redemption games or anything else that the company wants to take on as and build for other companies. So yeah, you can see that if they get all those 3 going, they're certainly going to need more line people, more stockroom staff, shipping and receiving, and testing of the product. In a way that they haven't needed to do up until now. Right.
Okay. Well, so my guess is this might also have to do with the postponed move of facilities for American Pinball. So that might also be in order. I don't know how far they are from where I think they were now in Streamwood, and I'm not sure whether they're staying in Streamwood, but if they're relocating to a different part of Illinois or something, then I could imagine that not everybody who's currently working for them is following them. But
that's a good point. Yeah, because Palatine, where they're moving to, is a little way away, as we know, having been there in the past.
Right, so they might be looking for locals over there also, although I do think that the ad clearly mentions Streamwood as a location. So
yeah, probably to start with, yes.
Okay, so then that means that the move is still yet to happen. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So all right. Well, that's American Pinball, obviously. Well, Oktoberfest is on the line, and good thing that they need extra people.
Yeah. Okay. Do I get to go back to the story I was about to mention earlier?
Sure. Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's all right.
I wasn't listening. Oh, sorry, I was. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Oh well, yeah, we were talking. We're about to start talking about Homepin.
Right.
I don't know, call them an Australian company or a Chinese company, I suppose.
No, it's the Australian China-based Homepin.
Yeah, Sino-Australian pinball production company, with still working on Thunderbirds, which is their first release, and just announced a new run of the games, as I understand.
Yes.
You know a bit more about this than I do.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Kalinowski, the owner of Homepin, I think last week, and they're basically doing a new run of Thunderbirds. He also had just returned from a Chinese coin of amusement trade show, where they obviously showed off the game, but they also introduced another game that they are about to be making. It was a prototype of a game called Ride the Wave, and anybody who has seen a picture of that game might think of a title game called Ice Cold Beer, which is an upright game where you have a playfield which is almost in a vertical position, but with a slight angle to it, and you have to move a ball that is being balanced on a metal a rail, I would say, or something like that. Correct me if my
no, I think you're right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's two joysticks, like on a video game, that control the up and down on the left side and on the right side of that rail that you're trying to move. And the idea is that you move the ball in between a maze of holes up to one hole that is blinking, and that's where the ball should land in. So it's a very simple skill-based game, I would say. I remember actually watching Robert Gagno last year at the Vancouver Flip Out, where he just basically he played an ice cold beer game, and I think he rolled that game like 5 or 6 times, if not more, and that was pretty good. I've never seen anybody do it like that, and I know Ice Cold Beer is a game that is quite a few people are looking for that, like fun to add to their game room, and so it appears that Homepin now have basically a I wouldn't call it a knockoff, but it's basically clearly the same principle, and they probably made a few innovations. They added music to it, and it's a completely it is built with modern technology. So probably, if there were any hiccups with the previous model, I'm sure they used new technology to create new hiccups, but solve the old ones.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's a game that Homepin is looking to produce, and what I understood was that the feedback at the Gangnam or whatever it's called trade show was rather positive. So hopefully that will lead to orders for them for that game.
Yeah, it's a good fun game to play. Ice Cold Beer. Anybody who's played it will know that. Right. Very sought after in home game rooms, and you would think, even actually in the Ice Cold Beer branding, it would have been a very popular game in America now, with the rise of craft beer breweries everywhere, and barcades and tap rooms and.
Well, this is an easy game to retheme, so.
Well, yeah, but you could brand it for the individual brewery.
Exactly.
Or the location.
Right. So that will help you sell another game, and so that might be the most rethemed game ever.
Yeah. Well, it could be easily done. I've seen it done a couple of times at different places. So it's certainly achievable. I've never seen it done very well, any better than the original, but it's certainly something which lends itself to that.
Right. So, obviously we mentioned Thunderbirds. There's a new run being made. Part of the games being made are, I really don't like going into disputes and all that kind of stuff. But apparently there's a couple of people who prepaid the game, and when there's been some, let's call it miscommunication or misunderstanding, people bought the game, and when the game was ready for them, they said like, oh no, I paid for shipping, and taxes were also included, while Homepin is saying no. It clearly states that shipping and taxes were not included, so you still owe shipping and taxes. And
that's still going on, is it? That dispute? I think we've covered it in the
hopefully
past.
that will be solved by now. Once these games, they're being shipped to Australia, and then these people will get a chance to either pick up their game, and if they don't, then I don't know what's going to happen. But my time is way too valuable to keep track of all that kind of.
And we're short
I feel sorry
on time,
for people
you know.
who are in that situation. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something that I'm really interested in covering. So I mentioned it, and hopefully with these games being built, those people will eventually get their game, and then let's all move on.
Yes, there are plenty of other disputes around that probably deserve a little more attention, but I'm sure we'll hear more on those a little bit later.
Right. So there are. I can think of one or two, but I can't talk about those at the moment.
No, we get, as I say, later. Not later in this podcast, but later, as in a future podcast.
Yes.
Okay. So, talking of future things, and that nice segue there into things which are upcoming. Chicago Gaming.
Right.
In fact, you have a little news on what their next title may well be.
Yes. Well, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't call it a surprise. Obviously, Chicago Gaming is the company that is known for their remakes of Williams games.
Yeah, Williams Bally. Yeah.
They did Medieval Madness, Attack from Mars, and most recently Monster Bash. And a lot of people are expecting that Cactus Canyon, which was the last normal-sized pinball machine produced by Bally Williams with software that was never finished, and the production line cut short to make way for Pinball 2000 at the time. That game has already been rumored to be next in line, and interestingly, it appears that a representative of, let's call it that, because I don't know exactly, well, I know who it might be, but I have no confirmation of that name. So a representative of Chicago Gaming reached out to a parts manufacturer parts manufacturer and seller, pinball parts shop, asking for them if they knew the guy who wrote the code for Cactus Canyon continued to reach out and contact them. And they left a phone number, and of course the owner of the company got in touch with the programmer who wrote that code, gave the number, and as far as I understood, the programmer tried calling them a couple of times, only to have his calls never being answered. But that does the fact that someone high up the ladder in American Pinball is reaching out for this programmer and that software, it appears, seems to indicate that Cactus Canyon can be sort of believed to be the upcoming remake title for Chicago Gaming Company.
Well, that's not entirely unexpected, is it? That Cactus Canyon would be the next one, and it would be the continued version, or at least something based on the continued version, maybe continued further. then Eric got to with his version. Although I think everyone who's played that one thinks it's a sort of almost like a work of art. Well, how he's built on the original game, and added so much more to it.
It will be interesting what Chicago's gaming take on that game will be. But so far, they stayed very close to using the original code, enhancing it with a colored display, bigger display, and adding, in case of Monster Bash, additional light shows and RGB LEDs to improve the current light show, so to speak. So it will be interesting to see what their plans are with Cactus Canyon, if that turns out to be their next remake, of course. Then again, so far they haven't been really Chicago Gaming is not really known for keeping their future games secret. I mean, Monster Bash also leaked out months and months before the game was finally announced. So
it's very hard to keep that kind of secret, isn't it? When you had to start ordering parts for these games, with such a reasonably long lead time. If you're going to start ordering, aprons with guns on them, for instance, then people are going to realise what that next title is going to be. And particularly, I think in the case of Monster Bash, when they applied for a trademark, didn't they, on the game, on the use of the Monster Bash title. Yeah,
but it also didn't help that Doc Score, when he was still working at the company, did an interview with I think it was Replay Magazine. Where they basically had a photo of a part of the factory within the back came Monster Bash playfield. So, oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what they are working on, but they're not working on another title, which some people have been speculating they might be producing.
Yes. Obviously, there was a list of. That was published, I think, last year or even in 2017, of titles that Planetary Pinball was offering, I think, to Chicago Gaming, or I'm not even sure if that's accurate the way that I describe it. Anyway, there was a list that also included Theater of Magic and Big Bang Bar. Theater of Magic being a Bally Williams game, of course, but Big Bang Bar is a Capcom title. And as far as I talked to a representative of Chicago Gaming who told me Big Bang Bar is not on their radar at the time when I talked to him. So as a reporter, I'd like to. I don't want to rain on everybody's parade, but once we know that something is not on the radar, can we please accept that it's not on the radar and not keep bringing it up as a future potential title? Sure, the potential is always there, but it's not on their radar. That means it's not a priority for them. And frankly,
it's not being worked on at the moment.
Right. So frankly, I think the chances are that I think we might even see an original design from Chicago Gaming sooner than we might see a remake of Big Bang Bar. So take that for whatever you think that it is, but obviously nobody would be surprised to see that at Chicago Gaming at some point they will be starting to design their own games, and I think that might happen, or maybe they're already working on it and we don't know yet, but I see that happening sooner than that they would do a remake of Big Bang Bar.
Yeah, that would be quite a leap, really, from coming out with a known, popular, and successful product in a remake form to bringing out an entirely new game with no history to it and having to basically sell it to the public in a way that they haven't had to really sell. I mean, Medieval Madness.
They have done that
Attack from
before.
Mars. Everybody knows them, and people were clamoring for them, and being able to buy one in new condition was almost a no-brainer, unless you absolutely had to have an original.
Right.
But with a new title, You're starting from scratch. Why would you buy this over Cosmic Carnival? Why do you buy over the latest Stern? Because nobody knows anything about it at that point.
Right. So then it's even probably an even playing field. I mean, it's not like, sure, I can understand that they don't have the advantage of the game being known, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be a good game.
Oh, absolutely not. No, and also, remakes after you've remade all the A titles, the ones which are in any way scarce. When you're looking for a good example, you have to start looking elsewhere, don't you?
Right. So since Theater of Magic was on that list, and let's do a little speculation. Would you say that is a title that's very much in demand?
No, I think if you wanted a Theatre of Magic, you could easily get one. The repro playfields out there, all the parts are readily available. There's some lovely looking modded ones out there with the working tiger saw and mirror blades and all sorts of chains and other features added onto the playfield. So if you're looking for a top end Theatre of Magic, I don't think you'd have any problem in finding one now.
Right.
Although maybe if Chicago can bring it out at a reasonable price, then save people all the trouble about trying to find one.
The standard Monster Bash model was very reasonably priced. I would say.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think if people are in the market for a remade Theater of Magic, obviously, then they would be interested in a game that has a larger display in color and maybe a topper as well. The question is, okay, is that a $9,000 game or whatever it is, $8,500? I'm not even sure at this point, but don't quote me on those numbers. But so instead of the standard model for $6,000, are those extras worth that extra money?
Well, I say you're starting to move down the ladder of pricing, and unless you do the same with the new remakes, then which then in turn leads to lower profits, and compared to maybe their own fully featured design could be a more expensive game and with a better profit for them.
So on a slightly related but totally unrelated topic,
that covers everything. Yes.
Yeah. No. Okay. But so Chicago Gaming has been making remakes of existing titles. Would there be a market for a remake of, take any specific Williams title, but remake it with a different name and basically rebrand it? So, for example, see if you can, I don't know, let's take Whitewater or the Shadow, but not as Whitewater or the Shadow, but find a new license or a new theme. And would there be a market for such games, or is it like, no, you can find the original one, why would you bother?
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of work, really, and you'll almost certainly end up with something which is less desirable than the original. And if there are plenty of originals out there, why would you do it? These games were built with those themes in mind. And unless you can come up with something which is very similar in terms of how the gameplay and the playfield features map to the theme, you're onto a loser, and it's going to be something that's going to be very, very similar to the original theme. So it doesn't sound like a goer to me, but no, right. I'm willing to be proved wrong.
Okay, so if we're looking at the all the little speculation. If we're looking at all the Bally Williams titles that Chicago Gaming basically has the possibility to take them and remake them, which titles would you say are stand a good chance of being actually adding something to the original? And so that people would actually be interested in it?
I think you should be looking at some of the I would say less successful, but the ones that sold fewer numbers than they probably could have done if they'd had a better theme attached to them. or a more accessible theme. One which immediately springs to mind to me is No Fear, which I think it's a fast game, and there's nothing on that game that particularly ties it to No Fear as a theme,
right?
Or even to the different sports which are featured in there. It's basically just a bunch of very fast, long shots, with the exception of the tube shot on the left, which is like the standard Get Out, Terminator kick out.
Mm.
But other than that, it's fast. It's got an upper playfield with a supercharger type thing with a flipper on it, and that could be used in many different ways. So that would be a good one, I think, to retheme.
Right.
But I'm sure there are others. I mean, we've seen games like No Good Gophers, for instance, being rethemed as like Caddyshack or something like that. Although that's an old title, but if there was something more relevant these days, that a golf type theme, then it could be done. Obviously you still got the Gophers in the game, unless you replace those with something else.
Right. So, but would you see a market for, let's say, a remake of Indiana Jones or even Addams Family?
No, I think those playfield designs are so tied to the original theme, and so it's.
No, but even as just as a remake of Indiana Jones, would there be a market for that? Just with the upgraded display, new LEDs and RGB LEDs, and would there be a market for that, or are those?
There's definitely a market, yes. Whether it's big enough to make it worth their while in developing all that. To go and to spend time working on the high res graphics for the bigger screen, maybe reworking the software, and unless you can actually add anything much to the game, then why are you doing it? There's plenty of models out there if you want them.
Right. Okay. So, oh well. So. Let's round this up. I think this was it. And like I said at the beginning, you have somewhere to go, and I have somewhere to go.
Absolutely, yeah. There was one more thing. I think we mentioned about there was an update this month about our colleagues at Paper Flock.
Oh, right, yeah.
And what they've been announcing.
Well, we mentioned that last. Well, that's interesting since we're both editors as well. We mentioned it last month. Yes, there has been an update on the 200 Years of Stern book. Oh no, it's a 30 Years of Stern book, but rather late. Actually, 2 years late, based on the delivery date that they originally projected in that Kickstarter program that they did for that. And so what happened was soon. Well, I'm not saying that there was any relation to our podcast, but soon after our last podcast came out, in which we discussed that they were 2 years late, an update came out in which, interestingly, the people who bought, who supported that project in the first place, were given the option with the story that the book had been designed. And then they decided to improve the layout of certain pages, and they made a comparison. They showed like what pages looked like originally, which was really bad, and then they showed the layout, which was far more likely to be liked by people. In the sense that the really bad pages showed a playfield photo that didn't even have the entire playfield on it, but just a portion of it, which makes me wonder, like, why on earth would you even show that? I mean, you want to show the whole playfield and not just a portion of it. So whoever was doing the layout of that book is either a complete amateur who knows nothing about pinball, and then I still find it hard to believe that if you're hiring such a non-amateur or such an amateur to do these layouts, I'm expecting that you look at the first couple of designs that someone like that would have done, if you're not doing it yourself, and then tell them, no, that's not what we want. We want it like this. You're not having an amateur designer design a complete book, only then to find out like, it looks like crap. You have to do it all again. That's completely not a viable story in my book. Let's put it like that. And I'm even thinking that they actually the good pages is actually how the book is completely designed. They just threw in a couple of bad page designs as a comparison, but they made believe that was how the entire book was made out, and now they need more time to improve the layout on all these pages.
Yes. So the basic idea was they asked the backers, should we put it out as it is in the original design, as they called it?
Yeah.
Which, as you say, is not good. Or should we be given more time to make it look like the improved look? And of course, everybody said, well, no, that original one. Well, no, not everybody. 90% of people said we want the new look. We want the improved layout. We don't like the old one. With the implication there that they're willing to allow them more time. And I think they said they wanted 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, well,
in order to do it. But I can't see how you can go from one to the other in 2 months. Because
I can
there's
see
a lot
how
of
you can
work.
do that. That's not. I mean, it's only going to be a 200-page book, so I can easily see. I would need less time to do that. But I would have designed it better in the first place. That's so they could do that. But basically, the whole thing reeks of basically pulling a tactic to basically have your
to buy
backers
themselves some more time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So and it worked.
Showing what you were always going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it worked for them, and now we still have to see whether the book will be available in 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say any more on that because I obviously wish them well, and I really hope they do get the game out. But
book, but okay.
Sorry, book. Yes, sorry, the book of games out. But past performance isn't promising, is it?
Well, it's not speaking in their advantage, so to speak.
No. So anyway, let's see what happens there, and hopefully in the podcast after next, we'll be able to announce that the book is out and being, or at least being published and being sent out.
Right.
Yep. So fingers crossed for that.
Right. Okay. So like we said at the beginning, this is going to be a rather short one, although I do think we even went rather in depth in certain topics. So thank you very much. Always a pleasure discussing these pinball updates with you. Hold on. Oh, guess what?
Oh, really? Now?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Just we got to go.
Yes. So
you're going. I'm going.
For those listening, you probably hear my phone ringing in the background. Yes, we have Gary calling. No, we don't have time for that.
Next time, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this look back on the month of May 2019. So from me, Martin Erb, and from
me, Jonathan, from Pinball Magazine,
we wish you a very happy June, and we'll be back at the end of the month to look back at all the events that have taken place this month.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.